Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to address everyone tonight. Just briefly, Rhode Island Second Amendment Coalition, we support House Bill 5156, which is a stun gun bill, 5546, which is the AG yearly reporting bill, 5866, the altered firearms ID bill, 6039, the CCW revisions, and 6040. The other bills we actually oppose. Only going to be focusing on 3 bills because somebody said to me I'm a little bit long-winded, so I'm going to cut my testimony down. I'm only going to focus on 3 bills. First one I'm going to talk about is 5345, which is the no guns in school. We've heard a lot of testimony about whether this would be good, whether this would be bad. I have some personal first-hand knowledge on this, so I'd like to share that. But before I do that, you're going to hear people that come up and say, well, the school committees wanted this. Well, we've had this bill come up for the last 3 years, okay? I can tell you right now, not one school committee has ever called us and said, we'd like to get your side of the story. These are the people that are in charge, our educators, that are supposed to have our children be critical thinkers and to be able to say, if we're going to debate, we need to see both sides and get their opinion so we can make an informed decision. Not one school committee has ever called us and said, we'd like to hear your side. Maybe you might have some ideas to enhance security. Not one. Okay? Now, there are some problems with the bill. The Police Chiefs Association says they support it. The problem is they went this far with the bill, didn't go far enough. In there, they give an exemption for peace officer. Taking a look in section of Rhode Island General Law 12721 deals with peace officers. The only problem with that is it doesn't address what happens when they retire. So you can have a police officer that has 25 years of experience, 30 years of experience. The second he retires, he can't go to his grandson's or granddaughter's recital, can't go to a game at URI, can't go on school grounds. They don't care if he's got 25 years of experience, 30 years of experience. Retired police officers, felony if you walk onto school grounds. There's a problem with the bill. That's first off. But no one ever asked our opinion. We would have said that beforehand. But no one ever asks us about this. Let's take a look at one other thing, and I want to share personal experience.
I need to say that.
And most people know because I testify all the time, I have a CCW from the Attorney General's office and from my town of Johnston. When I went to law school, I went to Roger Williams Law School in Bristol. During the time that I was there, I had my CCW. I sat in the classroom, I had a jacket on, and I had my concealed carry, I had a firearm strapped to my hip. There was no policy you could go into the school grounds on that. Sitting right next to me in class, because at the time they had the policy that if a police officer wanted to go to law school, the towns would pay for it. Lots of police officers were there. Sitting right next to me in class, in evidence class, was a uniformed police officer. I'm sitting here, and this close was the officer, and he had a SIG similar to mine. And I've been around guns pretty much my whole life. Didn't faze me, but he's sitting right there, carrying his firearm. He's in full uniform. There was another officer on the other side of the classroom. He was in uniform. He had a firearm. There were 2 or 3 other detectives there. They were in suits, so you couldn't tell if they were armed or not, but I'm sure they were carrying. The room was about as big as this. There were 2 doors in the front, and the teacher was there. The room is set up like an auditorium with seats on a horseshoe type, and we're on the 2nd floor. On day 1, I could go into school, sit there, and I know myself and the rest of the students there were protected. There were armed police inside, and myself as a CCW holder, I had my own firearm. The students were protected. Well, midway during the semester, there was a problem at the school, and they put in place the no guns in school. Did they add in additional security? No, they didn't. So on day 2, there I am sitting in class with an empty holster. Sitting next to me is a police officer with an empty holster in full uniform. Across the way, same thing. What does this do to enhance security at all to me, who was a student in the school? 0. None. That's what you're doing with this. This particular bill is crafted so narrowly, it only goes to the lawful CCW holders. It doesn't do anything to enhance our security, doesn't appropriate money for metal detectors or armed security, doesn't do anything. It puts in place the failed gun-free zone that unfortunately happened in Sandy Hook. It doesn't work. It didn't work there. It's not going to work here. Every parent of a K through 12 student in Rhode Island should be furious at this bill because all it does is take away our children's chance that somebody there could save the children. Now, I've gotten a call when I was working. My sister has called me and said, I'm running late, can you go pick up my nephew? So I've left the office, I'm carrying, gone over to the high school, gone over to the middle school, and picked up my sister's children. I didn't pose a risk to anybody. I was doing exactly what my permit allows me to do. I'm lawful to carry. I can carry in Rhode Island, Mass, and Connecticut. I'm not the problem. This exemption has been on the books since 1990. 27 years, not a single incident in Rhode Island. We're not the problem. If you think there's a problem with security in the school, fix it. Don't make someone like me a felon because I need to go pick up my niece or nephew. I pull into the parking lot, I'm a felon. Even though I've got a license to carry from the AG and from my police chief, I'm a felon now. Didn't do anything to enhance the security. This has been a bad bill for the last 3 years they posed it. It shouldn't be supported now. If you need security enhancement in the schools, get real security enhancement. This doesn't do it. Next bill I'm going to talk about is...
Hang on, Frank. I think Vice Chair Agello would like to ask a question before you go any further.
Mr. Saccoccio, before you go on to the next bill, first of all, those retired peace officers who have concealed carry permits can still go to the football game, can still go to the recital or the school play or to pick up a grandchild. They simply need to leave the gun home or put it in the car before they leave home or leave it in their office before they go to pick up the children.
I want to make sure I'm perfectly clear what you're saying. A retired police officer, you now don't trust and you want him or her to leave a loaded firearm in their car so they go in and that's safer for everyone? I really want to make sure we're crystal clear on that. Even though they may have 25 or 30 years experience as a law enforcement officer, you think it's safer for all the students and everyone there that if something happens, the police officer's disarmed. I really want to, I want to make sure we're crystal clear on it. Is that what you're telling me?
Mr. Saccoccio, I really resent your implication that I don't trust anyone. I am not saying that I don't trust you.
Then why are you disarming the officer?
I am saying that some people believe that schools would be safer if the only people with guns on school grounds were active law enforcement personnel.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I respectfully disagree with you on that, and I think a lot of the retired police officers would probably share my opinion on that also. But any other questions?
Second bill.
Sorry.
Yes, Vice Chair McEntee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mrs. Saccoccio, if we amended this bill to include retired police officers, would that make a difference for you?
It would make a difference for me. The police officers would be happy. If you leave the law the way it is, I'd be happy with that.
I'm just asking if there's any way to work this out. Are you suggesting that if we had the retired police officers included, that they would be exempt from, they could carry on school grounds?
What I'm saying is, if you're thinking that a police officer, because of his training, would be better to enhance the security, then I think it's not, analytically, it does not follow that once they retire, you can take them off the list and they can't come in.
No,
I think it'd be a good step,
I'm
put it back
tending
in.
to agree with you on that a retired police officer may be somebody that should be exempt. But, going back to what we're all saying here is, or what everybody seems to be saying is that the less guns in school, hopefully, the less problems that we have. And I mean, the availability of weapons tends to, if there is no availability, you go to the courthouse all the time. I know you go there. I see you there.
And I lock up when I'm there.
We
carry to and from.
Nobody can get in, and just as this building, nobody can get in with a gun in any courthouse. So why we couldn't extend that to schools, I don't think it's that far-fetched. I mean, I understand if we don't have metal detectors, there's no way to enforce it, but we have a lot of rules on the books that we don't, we entrust people to just be law-abiding to a certain degree. Just like when you were at Roger Williams, the school rule was no guns in school. You being a law-abiding person, locked it up, left it at home, whatever you did with it, and so did the other police officers. But, so I'm just suggesting to you that people will do it. I mean, we've heard different sides to this, but most people will abide by it.
They probably will. But the whole point of my story was on day 2 in law school, I was an absolute target. There was absolutely no way I could defend myself if someone came in. Every student in that room, if the person had a gun with enough ammunition, we were all dead. Day 1, when I was there, he probably wouldn't stand a chance with 6 people pulling out their firearms. There'd probably be a lot more holes in that person, and probably all of us would be fine.
But there does seem to be a common thread here with academia, places of academia, that they don't want firearms. It
doesn't necessarily follow, though. This legislature, last session, armed our campus police, extended the campus police ability to now help law enforcement. So what you do
campus police only.
That's right.
Yeah.
So let's look at what you're doing with this bill. K through 12 students, you're on your own. As soon as you get to college, boy, the legislators have made sure we've got armed police there. In case there's a problem, they can respond appropriately.
But we're saying the police can be.
K through 12 doesn't? That's what you're doing with this. It doesn't enhance security. It takes it away. How can you equate both of those when we're arming the campus police so in case there's a problem, they can respond? But on K through 12, we're taking away concealed carry holders, which have never been a problem in Rhode Island.
Well, it's we're saying that the police can carry at the schools. And I'm agreeing with you that maybe we should go a little further and do the retired police officers, but we're never going to agree, obviously.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm just taking your points and taking it through, and but we could go on all night, but
Frank.
Thank you. And one more thing I wanted to say to him. I know you said that the school committees didn't call on you to show up, and I know you, Frank, from being on the town council in South Kingstown, and you always show up when the gun bills come up. So I just don't find that exactly
Okay, when it went to the town
the point
council,
that you're trying to make, because you always showed up.
Okay, that's a little bit apples and oranges.
I don't know about that.
No, it's a little bit apples and oranges. I want to address that point. By the time it came before you when you were on the town council, the school committee had already made the decision and sent it to you to pass the resolution. We never got an invite from any one of the school committees to debate the issue. What we had to do is we had to find out, and what I did, when I went in front of you when you were on the school committee, I was checking every day which different town, city and town, all of them, to find out when this was there. So instead of coming up to the State House, I'm running all over the state of Rhode Island going to different town councils. So what I get, back my point is, apples and oranges. The school committees never called us. You were on the town council. After the resolution went there, that's when we showed up. By that time, it was pretty much already a done deal. So.
Frank, several times tonight we've heard the situation of the Rhode Island State House being a target. Clearly when you come in, there's security, there's Capitol Police here, but there has been a situation where a parliament was attacked, right? It happened in Canada, yes?
Yes.
How did that end?
I don't know the exact time.
Well, I think it was the sergeant at arms, largely a ceremonial position, with a ceremonial weapon, took out, I think it was a one-shot weapon. I might be wrong about that. I hope I don't get politiflacked on that, Kathy Gregg. But I think it was a ceremonial position with a ceremonial weapon stopped the shooter. Now that was more, I think, had more of a terrorist flair to it than a mental health issue or a mass killing situation. But the point again is it was someone with a gun that stopped the killing of the Canadian Parliament. You were on your second bill, I think, Frank, and we really have to start hurrying this up, folks.
I'm going to zoom through this. All right, the second bill is the
Almost 8
CCW
o'clock
bill.
now.
Second bill is the CCW bill. This is a necessity in Rhode Island. We have to do something with the CCW bill. If we look at our two sister states, Massachusetts and Connecticut, as of today when I double-checked to make sure the numbers were correct, we have approximately, in Massachusetts has approximately 350,000 active CCW holders. Connecticut has approximately 200,000. Rhode Island, we have less than 4,500. That's because the police chiefs, a lot of them are just still refusing to issue. And this is despite the fact being sued several times and losing in the Rhode Island Supreme Court as of recently. They still don't want to issue. We have 39 different cities and towns, but we only have 37 police departments. We have one board and one agency and one clerk that does this. There's no uniformity between the cities and towns. There are some chiefs that are asking for a financial background, some chiefs that are asking you to waive all of your HIPAA rights so they can look at every medication you've ever taken and anything from the beginning of time. There are also some police chiefs who are saying, and if you know the two different statutes, one's at 1147-11 cities and towns, the enabling statute 1147-18 for the Attorney General. There are some police chiefs who are saying, I don't like the wording in 1147-11, which I am governed by. I'm going to go over to 1147-18 and take the word need and put that in my policy. And they're borrowing sections of the statute which they like better. This causes a problem when people go into Rhode Island, into different cities and towns and say, I want to apply for CCW. There are some police chiefs, because there's no time limits in here, that are taking up to a year to process a CCW application. And if you want some verification on that, you can take a look at Tavares versus the City of East Providence, a case that went to the Rhode Island Supreme Court. The Rhode Island Supreme Court took the time to say to the police chief and put it in the decision, the person had been waiting a year to say yes or no, can you have a concealed carry permit. From talking to other clients that call my office, I know Pawtucket is on about 8-9 months before you get a decision. What if you need this for work? I mean, there's got to be some time limits, and that's what we did. We put in here. So we made sure that we had time limits, and when we did, we went down to the Attorney General's office and talked to them in the BCI division, and they said the time limits that we put in here, we upped them from last year, they're fine with them. 90 days on a in-state and 120 days on an out-of-state. They said that's more than enough time to process them. So we put a time limit in there. When you submit your completed application, they have to give you an answer yes or no within that time period. What this does is also puts in place that if they tell you no, they have to give you a letter clearly identifying what the reasons why you were denied. So this way you know what was wrong with my application, what can I supplement, what can I do to get my CCW. So before, they didn't have that. The chiefs can give out a general denial to say, looked at your application, didn't like it, no gun permit for you. And that was it. The problem with this is there was no appeal process. Say you're in Rhode Island, you can put a completed application in, and you decide that you want to go in there and say, I really want my CCW, and the police chief or the Attorney General says, can't have one. The Rhode Island Supreme Court has already looked at the process and said, unfortunately, the Administrative Procedures Act does not apply to the police chiefs nor the AG. They're kind of like a quasi-administrative body. The APA doesn't apply. So your only the only recourse you have is a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court. It's a very expensive process. People can't do it on their own. You're probably going to have to hire an attorney. It's going to be very expensive. It's a discretionary petition. The Supreme Court can basically take your petition and say, it's great, but I'm not hearing it, and you're done. This puts in place very specific appeal provisions where you can appeal to the cities and towns, directly to the chief, and have an informal sit down and say, what's wrong with my application? You can submit documentation, you can supplement it. You get a chance for them to tell you what's wrong with your application, what do I need to get one. If you're not happy with that, then you can file an appeal to the Rhode Island Superior Court. This will give individuals an appeal as a matter of right. For a licensing board, this is something you want. You don't want a licensing board, whether it's Attorney General's office or a police chief, to be the end-all, be-all and say, I just don't like you. I'm not giving you a permit. I don't like your paperwork. You have to have some review process. This puts a review process in place for people. It also puts in an emergency provision in there for people that need this for work. And let me explain to you why we did this. We sat down with Peter Kilmartin like 4 years ago, and sat across the table with him, and I went to law school with him. I said, Peter, there has to be an emergency provision put in there for people that need it for their work. Say you work for Pinkerton Security or Securitas, and you have to have a firearm for your job. The license is required to do this. If you put in your renewal application and someone drags their feet for whatever reason, and your permit expires, you now lose your job in most places. Now, I do a lot of unemployment law through the office, so people come in all the time. I know there are 6 district court cases that say if you had a license that was required for you to work, and you lost it for any reason other than a clerical error, you're denied unemployment. So in Rhode Island, somebody who needs it for work gets the double hit. You lose your job, and you're automatically denied unemployment. Boy, is that terrible, huh? Explained this to Peter, gave him the language, and said, please put this in your policy, it helps people. That's a good policy. Hasn't put it in yet. What this does is puts that provision in place. If you have no change in your BCI, your application's complete, and your need for it because of work has not changed, it's an automatic 90-day extension while they're processing your paperwork, so you don't lose your job. There's an additional $50 fee. It's only available for people for work, and it's one time only. It's a good provision. It saves people's jobs, helps them out, and it hasn't been put in place. That's one of the other things that we need to put in there. I know I'm zooming through the bills because there's got a lot of people that want to talk. So any questions on that? If not, I can move to the next bill.
Next one, please, Frank.
Okay, next bill. Okay, the reciprocity bill. The reason why Rhode Island right now we don't recognize other states carry concealed permits is there is no enabling statute on the books. The Attorney General, the police chiefs, they couldn't recognize the out-of-state permits if they wanted to. There's no enabling statute. What this does is create the enabling statute. It gives the Attorney General's office the discretion to contact other states and say, this is what we want. We're going to contract with you. You're going to recognize our permits. We're going to recognize yours. It's going to be mutual reciprocity, but it's by contract, so that both states, the laws should be the same, and we're only going to contract with states that have similar laws than ours. Now, doing the research on this, I found there are some southern states that, you're going to like this one, when you turn 18, you can purchase a firearm, and they'll give you a CCW. So we don't want that in Rhode Island. We want to have it in compliance with our law. So we put in here that we will recognize other states provided they follow our laws, which means you have to be 21 years or older and have a valid CCW from another state. Then we'll recognize that state to make sure that we don't have people that are underage or what we consider to be underage have a CCW on this. It also grants the law enforcement officer, once they stop somebody, there has to be 24-hour, 7-day access to the other state's database to make sure that the person that presents a CCW permit, the police department can immediately validate whether it's valid, whether it's been revoked. They need to have that information. In addition to that, some people have seen these YouTube videos where somebody gets pulled over and they crack the window down this much and they stick the license and go, that's all I'm showing. No. We put a provision in there that says if you're stopped by a police officer and you're carrying, you need a picture ID, you need to present it to the officer. You can't just go look through the window. Present it to the officer and present the concealed carry permit. The officers need to be safe. We need to make sure we can verify who the person is and if their permit is valid. So that's one of the things that we have over there. There's one other provision that we put in there, and doing the research in southern states, we found out about this. There are some southern states that don't actually issue a CCW, an actual card or a permit. What they do is they have a law enforcement active ID. So if you're a law enforcement officer, they give you your valid ID, you can go anywhere with it. This will allow us to be able to say, okay, this person coming from down south or out from Midwest has their ID, their active law enforcement, that will be their CCW permit in Rhode Island. We should be able to check to make sure the person isn't suspended, that they're active law enforcement, and then they'll be safe. So if they want to come into Rhode Island, they want a vacation, they can carry legally and they'll have the proper credentials, and everybody would be safe on that. But this is the enabling statute. Once we put it in place, we should be able to contract with other states, and hopefully we get some reciprocity. Rhode Island really is too small. You can get in your car and take a wrong turn and, oops, you're in Connecticut. Or, oops, you're in Massachusetts. It happens. That's why, for myself, I have Mass, Connecticut, and Rhode Island, because I don't want to have a problem where I ever take a wrong turn and I get pulled over and I'm on 2 streets over in Massachusetts. So, I know I said a lot and I talk too much, but okay. Any questions?
Thank you, Frank. Any questions from the committee? Thank you very much.